What is your favorite, very creepy fact? One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized that a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. A human corpse decomposes 4 times faster in water than in the ground, and 8 times faster in open air than in the ground. When a person is electrocuted in the electric chair, they feel everything. They are fully aware of their bodies being fried as it happens in real time. One inmate who survived the first round of electrocution said it tasted like cold peanut butter. On a related note, lethal injection is also quite painful. But the recipient of that injection is also given something that paralyzes them so that those watching are not made aware of the recipient's suffering. The death penalty is fucked. Cotard delusion is a rare psychiatric condition, severe cases of which cause the sufferer to wholeheartedly believe they are dead, putrefying, or simply do not exist. Some Cotard's patients refuse to eat, as they do not believe they need to, with one notable patient dying of starvation. Another woman once asked to be taken to a morgue, to be with the other dead people. In 1844, there was a case of hysteria in a French convent of nuns. One started meowing, and after a week all the nuns were meowing harmoniously in the afternoons. It didn't stop until neighbors called soldiers. There was a similar happening in Germany. The entire population of the village danced and partied themselves to death. The children's story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin was based on a real event. Hamelin town records start with this event. The earliest written record is from the Town Chronicles in an entry from 1384 which states, "It is 100 years since our children left. No one know what or who took the children. But there's records of the entire town's children being taken." There is a rare genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia where over the course of months you literally cannot go or be put to sleep no matter what you take or what you do. The symptoms get progressively worse until finally you stay awake watching yourself go insane until you die from exhaustion. After getting stung by a cone snail, you don't feel the sting for a little bit. There is no antivenin and it can be lethal. Treatment is basically keeping the victim alive until the venom wears off. That's just like the blue-ringed octopus. The human brain continues to give off electrical signals for 20 to 40 seconds after death. It takes approximately 359 humans to have enough iron to forge a sword from their blood. So technically you could make a blood iron armor set. Sounds like a good start to a D&D villain. It's estimated that there is around 25-50 active serial killers in the US. Honestly, because of media exposure and pop culture, this number sounds rather low to me. It's kind of creepy that most people are so desensitized to such a taboo and disturbing subject that we're surprised to learn that it's not an epidemic. The armpit is where all your important nerves in your arm, so if you stab it you can't really use your arm. Edit. Please stop replying, I need to go to bed and I also know about the artery. My friend was in the military police for a while. He was trained to incapacitate drunk and angry soldiers by jamming his thumb as hard as he could into the armpit. Apparently it can knock a person unconscious. Can anybody confirm if this is true? I always thought it was bollocks as I've never heard anybody else reference it. Your insides are constantly moving around and stuff. I hate this. But it's my favorite for that reason. I tried on a proper tight corset once. When I took it off I could feel my inside slide back down out of my ribcage. Vlad the Impaler was called that because he killed his enemies by placing them ass first on pointed poles that would slowly skewer them to death. He's also hailed as a hero in Romania. I've been to his castle. The area it's in is actually very beautiful. Edit. The castle was a Bran castle, which he actually never set foot in. My bad. Still a beautiful place though. While most parents do what they can to prevent or stop their babies from crying, that's not always the case in Japan. That's because it's a 400-year-old Japanese tradition that if a sumo wrestler can make your baby cry, it means he or she will live a healthy life. During a special ceremony, parents hand over their infants to sumo wrestlers who bounce their precious tots up and down and sometimes even roar in their little faces to get the tears flowing. He's not a baby that cries much, but today he cried a lot for us and we are very happy about it. Mother Mashide said at a 2014 event. Egyptian mummies are significantly more rare than they used to be because Europeans ate a lot of them. They were looted from Egypt and used as medicine. I never heard that they ate them, but they did grind a shitty ton of them up to make a paint called mummy brown. Many famous paintings contain mummy paint. Anglerfish. When anglerfish mates, the male literally deforms its body and fuses with the female, then they live together for the rest of their lives. Scaphism. The worst way of execution I've ever heard of. The word comes from Greek, which stands for hollowed out. The victim is trapped between two boats, fed and covered with milk and honey, which then attracts all kinds of insects and vermin that fester and devours you over a couple of days. Kinda like that rat thing where they heat up the cage or whatever so the rats escape through your body. You have a bunch of microscopic parasites called demodex on your eyelashes and in the pores on your face. They come out at night to lay eggs on and eat the oils on your face. Somewhat recently, 2012, scientists discovered over 400 new species of bacteria living in the belly button. Everyone's belly button ecology is unique. Add it to the fingerprints and snowflakes list. In that same study, one volunteer's belly button harbored bacteria strands that had only ever been found in soil from Japan, where this man has never been. You could be killed instantly by a brain hemorrhage and have no warning signs prior. 1 second you're perfectly fine, and the next you're dead. The island of Okinoshima in the inland sea of Japan is known for two reputable things. 1. It's named Rabbit Island because of the overabundance of wild rabbits, and 2. The island has World War II ruins of a chemical weapons factory, creating poison like mustard gas in its attacks on China. So vital was its secrecy to the Japanese government that they tried to wipe its location off maps. Squeezing someone's balls very tightly can have roughly the same effect as using an epinephrine pen. Don't try this please, it will be very painful. Big companies like Target know and record when you're cheating on your so. I remember that story a few years back where Target knew that a girl was pregnant before her dad did, just off of her search history. Edit. Shopping list. What she was browsing on their store page. Whatever. You people arguing semantics know what I meant. Yeesh. The sun will burn out at some point, and unless we as a species escape this solar system, everything we have ever done or will do will be instantly erased and forgotten. Edit. Lots of interesting responses to this. I just love that it's inspiring a fun conversation. During the Victorian era, it was not uncommon for families to take pictures with recently deceased relatives. This was done as one final moment with that person to honor them. We actually have some old family pictures like that. My dad told me that usually old pictures of people are not perfectly clear because people would still move a little bit during the time it took to take the photo. But if someone appears very clearly, i.e., they were sitting perfectly still, that might very likely be because they were dead when the photo was taken. Creeped me out for sure. When CNN first signed on in 1980, they recorded a band playing a hymn that they were meant to play at the end of the world. It was hidden from the public for 35 years. Feeding a human body to pigs will cause them to eat everything except the teeth. You need at least 16 pigs to finish the job in one sitting. So be wary of any man who keeps a pig farm. They will go through a body that weighs 200 pounds in about 8 minutes. That means that a single pig can consume 2 pounds of uncooked flesh every minute. Hence the expression, as greedy as a pig. in the average person's life. They will walk past at least 10 murderers in their lifetime and walk past at least 50 sex offenders. That includes rapists and child predators. Don't know if I worded all of this right. Only 9% of the ocean has been explored. And that there are creatures that we would think of as aliens living deep down. The US is still missing 6 nuclear bombs somewhere on the continent from Broken Arrow incidents. One is known to be near a Goldsboro, NCB-52 crash site. It is estimated to be buried in 55 meters of swamp muck. The arming switch was armed, but had detached from the bomb. A second bomb was recovered with 3 or 4 switches armed. Patients undergoing colonoscopies are most commonly put under conscious sedation, meaning the anesthetic doesn't actually numb pain or even send you unconscious. They just impair your ability to form memories. You are awake and aware of the pain. You just don't remember. Indian followers of the Zoroastrianism don't bury or burn their dead. Instead, they leave the bodies in special towers, exposed to the elements to be eaten by vultures. Unfortunately, the vultures are now endangered, leaving the bodies to slowly rot. Mathematically, it is possible that somewhere scattered around the universe exists a number of living beings that resemble you but with slight differences. Technically, they are not copies. But if one of these beings were to take your place, nobody would notice. The Panama Paper posted a very detailed document about how the rich are part of an enormous crime ring. And all that came of it was the journalist was murdered. There is an island of the dolls in Mexico City that has thousands of creepy dolls to honor a little girl who drowned in the 1950s. The island is also one of the most haunted places. And the man who put up all the dolls to honor the girl also drowned in the same spot she did. There was a man from France named Terra, 1772-1798, who couldn't stop eating. By the time he was 17, his parents kicked him out. He was eating his own body weight in food daily at the time. When he enlisted in the army rations just couldn't satisfy him. Often, he would sneak out at night and search for offal in the garbage and the gutters. He was hospitalized. Doctors trying to find a cure, but at night he would raid the morgue. Scientists, unable to stop his ability to eat almost anything, began to study it. They'd feed him such random things as eels, he'd swallow whole, lizards, a kitten and puppies, all of which he ate alive. When a 14-month-old baby disappeared, he was chased from the hospital by an angry mob. He later died of tuberculosis. Not a fact I know. But there was once this couple who tried experimenting with digital devices. They would talk about dog food for a couple minutes at a time. And even though they didn't have a dog, they began getting tons of ads for dog supplies. Similar things happen to my family. It could simply be confirmation bias. But it could be something else. Because they aren't as tasty as baby hens. Baby roosters are typically tossed into the grinder as soon as they are born. This doesn't have much context, so I can explain. Producers of eggs can use factory farms to increase yields of eggs. They use many inhumane practices to increase yields while minimizing work. If a rooster fertilizes an egg, and the chick ends up being male, it will typically be killed in a blender or gas chamber, as males don't produce eggs and are therefore useless to them.